other this morning. I'm sorry about that.
It's okay. I apologize. I just saw your email now. I don't check my SUNY Poly email nearly enough.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Sorry about that. Yeah. So, oh well, but I'll be, we can talk tomorrow morning if it works for you.
What time are you thinking? I got to put that on my calendar otherwise.
Yeah. 9:30 is usually good. I'll just be at home tomorrow. So.
Yeah. Okay. I'm putting it on my calendar now for 9:30.
Okay. Just send me a confirmation email just so that I remember. Because I have no mind.
I know. I got that same problem.
Yeah. Not supposed to agree with me.
Well, I was agreeing more on my part.
It's all right. So what I thought we'd do a quick round robin to see if people have specific sets of issues. And then I'll kind of go over the presentation ideas. And I see I've gotten a couple of topic statements in that I think I owe comments on, or maybe not. So I think I'm caught up with Lindsay. And Dan, am I caught up with you, or do I owe you something?
I sent you an email last week. I tried submitting mine, and I accidentally submitted my preliminary topic statement. So I emailed you my new topic statement, the longer one with the references in it. So I can email that to you again. I didn't have the ability to upload a second document into Blackboard.
Oh, I thought I responded to you on that. Okay. So let me fix that.
If you have the ability to remove it, I can upload a new one right now.
Of course I have the ability. I have magical powers. Submission details. Unlimited attempts. Yeah, you can just put another one in there.
I don't see I click on.
You can do it. I just changed. You might have to relog in.
All right, let me do it again.
Yeah. I literally just changed it. Okay. And who else do we have here? Okay. So then I think I read yours, but I can't remember. So let me take a look at it and get you something right back, okay? Once I see it. Okay. So I'm going to share my screen. Maybe. And I should be sharing it now.
Yep.
And yeah. Okay, so what I wanted to do is talk a little bit about proposal presentations and the lit review reference lists. So the way that, and this is, I think, pretty straightforward, but maybe you guys have questions, and that's fine, okay? So basically, something that we changed a bit from what we've done in the past. And basically, we give you about a half an hour. And with both your first reader and your second reader online. And we spend a half an hour, and you can provide slides or other demonstration material to move the conversation along. It's really important that you don't talk for much more than 15 to 20 minutes at the most. Definitely not more than 20. You got to leave us 10 minutes at least. And if you can get your stuff in and explained in 15, that would be even better. So you take the first 5 minutes to tell us about what your topic is, what your question is. You don't need to read the literature review, but you can summarize the literature review and, the 3 main points, A, B, and C. And the literature says this, says that, and says the third thing. You don't have to say who said that, but you can say, as you've read my literature review, these are the 3 main points that I'm finding. And you really can do that in 3 bullets, 1 slide. So that topic background should be absolutely 1 slide with 30 words. And you really have, so you have to know what you're talking about, but just use the slide to give us a hint of what you're talking about. And then we'll use your language. So you don't have to, You don't need citations in there. You don't need to say so-and-so says. Just draw out the main points from your literature review. That's what I mean by the background. And draw out the question. That's most important. Like, what is it that you're asking? If you're doing a project, what is it that you're doing that answers the question? If you're doing a thesis, what kind of data are you collecting and analyze that answer and address the question? And then what do we know about it up to this point? In a sense, to position your work as moving our knowledge further along. Okay? 5 minutes, quick. Spend the bulk of your time talking in the middle section, the methods and design section. So if you're doing a thesis, it's methods. How are you collecting data? How are you collecting data? And then what do you do with that data once you've collected it? How do you analyze it? If you're building a project, the method is, what is the project you're building and what are the design criteria that you plan to use that is specifically going to help you address the questions that you've asked. Okay, that's the most important. That's your real scholarly work. Not that your other part isn't the real work, but that's your most important work in this proposal presentation, is to explain to us and to yourself that you know what you're doing. You know, that you've got a plan, you've got not only do you have a question, but you've got an understanding of how you're going to frame that question, how you're going to address it, and what your strategy is for providing some experience, either through data collection analysis or through production, that will allow you to answer that question. Okay, so once you've got that done, again, that's the bulk of it, and that should be 10 minutes max. One slide would work for that. Sometimes you're going to need 2 slides. Sometimes you might want to show some spec work. So, you know, it's hard to give you a fixed amount of how much material you need for that. If you want to show us something that's the very beginning, you know, of what you're going to build, like the front of a website or the very beginning, a wireframe of your application, if you're doing a prototype, whatever it is you're doing, you can build that in there, but be careful that you don't kind of go over time. Conclude with what your analysis strategy is, your production strategy, like how are you actually going to make this and what are the challenges you're going to have. And then spend and that should pretty much wrap up your presentation. And then you want to give us at least 10 to 15, well, not give us 10 to 15 minutes to respond to it, to give you questions, and to provide some suggestions as to where you should go from there. We got to keep it to 30 minutes because we usually will have someone else coming in right after you. We'll record it on Zoom, so you can go back and listen to it if you find that helpful. And then we'll use that also as a backup, so that if we come to some point in the future, in a couple of weeks down the road, and you said, "Oh, I wasn't going to do that," or "It's not," you know, or I have some understanding of what you're doing, you've got a different understanding. We'll go back and listen to the videotape, you know, and kind of use this as the documentary record of you know, what we agreed to and what you would agree to do. Doesn't mean you can't change it, but this is the foundation, and this is in a sense where the faculty, your readers say, okay, this is a valid question, this is a valid method, you can go ahead and do it, and assuming you do what you said, it should be fine. So that's why it's a really important step, and why we want to give and make sure that everybody involved, you, your first reader, and your second reader, the three of you or the three of us, all have a common understanding of what your question is and what your strategy is for addressing that question in the context of a thesis or a project. And so they start, I think, next week, and I will be processing the requests tonight and tomorrow. I've just kind of gotten back in the groove, so I'm a little behind, but I'll process those and set a schedule, and we'll be good to go. You are welcome to attend other proposals other than your own, and these will be advertised to the IDT community as well. So it wouldn't surprise me if you have an audience, so don't be surprised or nervous. and it's really intended as a preliminary way for you to get used to doing the defense. But most importantly, again, it's a way that the three of us, or the three of you, first reader, second reader, and student, all come to a common understanding of what you're doing. Questions, comments, concerns? The floor is yours.
If we don't get our literature review done before the presentation, are we still okay to go through with the presentation?
Yeah, because you should, I mean, it's really hard for you to have, yes, you won't have it done, but you should have a pretty good feel for it. You might not have written it, but you've done most of your research and some of your reading.
Right, yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah, it's fine. And that's, again, why you don't need to have the citations. You just need to have the points, the main points. And if they change, that's fine too, but it's a way of making sure that your topic is framed in the context of some theoretical questions. And if that part of the presentation is weak, we'll probably say, well, you've got to make sure you grind, that you, when you do your literature review, you really check on these things, and that'll be fine. It's really the method and design section that's critical.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Just a quick logistical question. Will
Yep.
you be arranging for the readers to be there, since we've probably already all filled out our forms, or do we need to reach out to them to send them an invite?
I will do that.
Okay.
Yeah. I will send around an email to all of the faculty, giving them the full schedule and when the second reader, first readers need to be there. And they know, they've been alerted weeks ago as to these are the broad times that they kind of have to keep open.
That reminds me.
Yep.
Did you happen to get a chance to reach out to, I think his name was Bill or Will, the math professor?
I discovered today that he moved his office next door, so I know where his office is as opposed to where I thought it was. But he wasn't there, and I will send him an email tonight. But I stopped on my way out of the building, but he wasn't there when I went there.
Okay.
So yeah, and if so Lindsay's talking about a second reader that's outside the department. If he can't make it, that's fine. We're not going to hold it up for that. So, or someone, yeah. So I think you're the only one in that. Josh is another student, but yeah, I think you're the only one in that group right now. So, other logistical or tactical or broader questions about this?
Did you talk about the lit review already?
The lit review, no. I've only talked about the proposal presentation. And so the lit review, the first segment, the less than 5-minute segment, topic and background, should include a sort of a quick summary, the 3 main points that you think you're going to make in your literature review or that you've already developed for your lit review. Was that your question? Is your question the second topic for the day?
The second topic for the day.
Okay. Well, I haven't gotten there yet, Jane.
Okay. Well, I'm sorry, I joined late, so I want to make sure I didn't miss anything.
That's fine. Yep, I got it. Yeah. Any other questions on the proposal presentation? Okay. I think in the form I had asked you to indicate your preferences, and so if your preferences are all to go later, then they'll be scheduled later. And to be honest, I haven't looked. I saw that there's 6 submissions so far, so I haven't really looked at what the dates were yet. But I will work on that.
You're going to post those in the wiki, I assume, because I've already forgotten what day I requested.
Yes, I will post the schedule in the wiki.
Awesome.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, and the due date, of course, was really just the first date. I mean, if yours is scheduled for the following week, it's one of those 2 weeks. And actually looking at that schedule now, that might be a problem for me, but I will, yikes. I will work on that. So I may have to move it, but we'll see how it goes. Yeah, we just scheduled an appointment in Cleveland on October 3rd, so that'll be interesting. So I'll work on that. So are we all set with that then? I should move on to the next. Okay. The other, maybe more interesting topic is to talk about a literature review and a reference list. And so here I've written a little bit about this, and I'll sort of read it and comment on my own writing here to try and give you a broader idea. So the first thing I write there is lit review is an essay. And so what I mean by an essay is that it's not like a checklist of the different articles you've read. It's an essay. It's got an introduction, a beginning, a middle, and an end. It's got an overall argument that you're making, and it's got a point. So it's not a recitation or a annotation of all the different things that you've read. Many times you see a lit review come through, and the technique that you can use to see if you're falling into this trap is to look at your writing and say, does every paragraph begin with a new author and say, so-and-so in their article, this and that says this, and then next paragraph, next author, next article. That wouldn't qualify in my mind as an essay. So an essay is really something that integrates the literature, and that draws conclusions that you have come to on your own. You're adding knowledge to the literature that you've read. So you pull out the key themes from 5 to 7 or 15 different articles. 3 of them deal with theme A, the next 5 deal with theme B, and the last 6 deal with theme C. So your paragraphs would go A, B, C, not Article 1, Article 2, Article 3, ... Article 15. So again, the essay is really supposed to be an integrated narrative with the beginning, a middle, and an end that says, this is the question I have, this is what I think is going on, and in my A, B, C, and D, I might reference 3 or 4 or 5 different sources on each one. So that's the notion of an essay. And I'll jump through this and then we'll go back and talk about some questions. So if you've got it. So again, that keyword integrating, and then the professional and scholarly literature. Generally, in my view, professional.
Steve, you're breaking up in all sorts of crazy ways.
Say that again. Say that again.
You're breaking up all over the place for me. I don't know if I'm the only one that's having this problem. Could somebody let me know? I'm seeing Jane shake her head. We're missing a lot of what you're saying.
Let me switch internet providers here and go to a different network. Sorry about that. If I drop out, I will be right back. Am I still there?
Yep. You're still here.
Okay, is that any better?
Yeah.
Okay, so I switched to my hotspot, direct 4G connection. Sometimes that works better. So for me, the profession, and so let me go back. Did you get my riff on the essay part? It's about integration.
Most of that came through.
Okay. So again, the key, just to summarize in case some of it didn't come through, the key is an essay. It's an integration of scholarly and professional literature in which the conclusions from the literature you've drawn and organized yourself, so that it's not just a listing of what author A, B, and C says. It's a conclusion of it's a set of topics that you've developed on your own. It's getting dark in here, so I'm going to put some lights on. There we go. That's a little better. It's a set of topics and conclusions and a bunch of knowledge that you've developed on your own that wouldn't be obvious if somebody else just went and read the same things. So the point is really that you're taking out from the literature something that's relevant and important to your topic, and then you're stressing to us the things that you found important, and sort of along the way saying, here's the different scholars or professionals who've written about that. Okay, so that's the integration piece. The scholarly and professional literature, the scholarly literature is pretty much anything that you find that's in a scholarly source that's peer reviewed. My own personal preference is I search in Google Scholar. And yes, I meant internet history. And I trust that most of you or all of you know the difference between a scholarly and a professional source. Things that are cited like this, like First Monday, that's a scholarly journal. Books are generally, we can consider scholarly. If you've got questions, ask. If they're written by a college professor, they count as scholarly. If they're done by an academic press, they're scholarly. If they're, a popular press, it might be a popular book or a professional book. And I'm not really super hung up on the difference, but we want to make sure that you've got some scholarly literature in there as well. So, anything that that looks like an academic journal probably is. If it's got footnotes, it's an academic journal. If it's got a reference list, it's an academic journal. If it's a website or a blog, probably not so much, okay? Almost everything cited and referenced in Google Scholar is going to count as scholarly literature. Okay, so it's just I'm not sure how else to sort of frame that for you, but if you've got questions, ask, and I'll certainly help you with that. Okay.
So I just have one quick question on where you're coming from, because, well, I understand the difference between professional and scholarly articles and such. What about websites that are more of a professional bent? A lot of what I'm doing is revolving around education, and I'm looking at a lot of websites that are by teachers, for teachers, that sort of thing. But they're not truly scholarly articles that I'm looking at, but more along the professional vein.
Yep. They're professional.
This will be okay for some points of what, it makes up about 1/10 of what I'm looking at. So,
well, we're looking for an integration of the professional and scholarly literature.
Okay.
Roughly half should be from scholarly peer-reviewed publications.
Thank you.
So, teachers will sometimes write in peer-reviewed publications, and I'm not going to actually look them all up and count. So, use your judgment. But I'm really interested, given that it's a master's program, we're really interested in you engaging with the scholarly literature around your topic, and basically recognizing that some people do scholarly research on your question. Maybe not a lot, but some people certainly do, and you'd like to find that. Okay? So the essay should be submitted as a well-formatted PDF document. That's just to kind of get you in the habit of writing decent PDF documents, headers, footers, page numbers. And then your citation and reference list should follow a standard format. So for example, in Google Scholar, so this internet guide for new users is probably professional, not scholarly, by the way. Misunderstanding the internet, we'll skip that. New Media and Society, that's a scholarly journal. If I want to generate a citation for that, I just pick one of those formats. If I'm using Chicago, I just copy the Chicago, put that in my reference list. That's a standard format. As long as you don't pick Chicago sometimes and MLA the other times and Harvard the other times and make one up yet another time, just pick the same format. This should not be an onerous task. Any article you can find in Google Scholar, and they'll give you a citation to it. It's just, there's lots of ways to generate citations. If you're typing citations by hand, you're doing the wrong thing. So don't do that. most of the library databases, and certainly you can start at library.sunyit.edu. Most of the library databases have citations. Type the same typo. And just to demonstrate, this looks good. I forget where you get citations in EBSCO, but somewhere.
Detailed record.
Detailed record. Here's the site.
All the way left.
Yeah. So here's your citations, different formats. Okay. So really, don't be typing. If you're using Zotero, like we talked about last week, makes it even easier. You can integrate it directly into your word processing. It's going to give you a citation. You can cite it directly and generate the PDF right from your Word document. So as long as you're using a standard format that's recognizable, we don't care which one, and it's consistent. Okay, so follow a standard format and consistent. And footnotes are fine. Author date and parentheses are fine. Whatever floats your boat in terms of references. You're going to do it the same way in your lit review as you are in the rest of your project. So pick something and stick with it. Okay, and this is the first, I think, more formal project that you submit. We're really looking for stupid things like page numbers and a header and a footer and a reference list, just so that it gets you in the habit of submitting something that's professional quality. And you'll use the same formats, same style. If you use Word, start developing a style sheet. Use Google Docs, you can start by developing some standard styles as well, and then you'll just be on your way for the final. So that's what I had to say on the literature review and reference list. Let me take some questions on the very specific points, and ask away and as specific and as will help you. Oh, and I skipped over the range. Almost everything has the word counter. So again, I actually don't count the words, but if it feels really short, then I'll say, how many words is that? And I'll look. The paging, the number of pages isn't as relevant to me as the number of words. And we're really looking for something that's this is a pretty hefty and substantial document, right? So you're getting 8 to 10 pages, 15 sources. It's a big chunk of your work. And so hopefully you're well on your way to it. And I'm looking for that by the end of next week. Again, those dates are just guidelines for those of you who are really anticipating a December graduation. You've really got to get that done. If you're slow walking it or you're on a slightly different schedule, the schedule's yours. So and I'll try to respond to those as quickly as possible. So questions on the lit review and the reference list? Nothing?
Steve, I guess I have a question. Maybe someone else has the same question. You're talking about kind of dividing up the essay, the literature review, kind of into 3 main bullet points. Oh,
I just picked 3 at random, but it's probably more than 2, and you probably shouldn't go many more than 5. But yeah.
Okay, yeah. I mean, that was my question because I looked up some examples online to see what other lit reviews look like for a similar project, and I thought it made sense for me, like with the e-commerce, to kind of divide it up into like 4 or 5 kind of subsections with like subheadings.
Yeah, 5 subsections is fine. If you get more than 5, you're not doing enough synthesis in general, would be my guess.
Okay.
So you should be able to synthesize into no more than 5 points. Just combine 2 of them into a slightly bigger point.
Okay.
More than 5, your essay is going to wander off. You don't have enough words to get there. I mean, if you think about the sort of rough length, 3,500 to 4,000 words, so you waste 250 words saying hello and 250 words saying goodbye, so you're down to 3,500 words. If you've got 5 points, that's only 700 words per point. Did I do my math right? Yeah. So that's like a page per each one of your points. So that's about the minimum that I could imagine you actually covering one of your main points.
Okay.
So if you've got like 8 of them, then you're down to like, you're writing a paragraph, or, you're writing like 350 words on each point, and that's not enough to get into any kind of depth.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, I'm in like the 4 to 5 range right now. I don't anticipate breaking it down anymore, but I wanted to be sure that was a reasonable format to move.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. 3, 4, 5. It's hard to imagine there only being 2 points to raise. 3 would be kind of like a minimum, and I just use that all the time as an example. And I think 5 is really the max. So, yeah, that's a good question. Thanks for that.
Mm-hmm.
Was that Dan?
Yeah, sorry. Every time I turn my video on, I just get really choppy, so I'm just gonna let it off for now.
Yeah, no, I do the same thing. Yeah, so that's fine. Joe, Jane, who else? I don't even know who else is here. Lindsay, James.
I'm having a problem trying to find literature reviews on my site.
So let me just pull a little bit and spend a few minutes on your topic, and give me your 1-sentence version.
The question?
Yeah.
Can a video production setup be created with no video editing involved at all?
And so the broader point is about what? Video
Edited. Basically, no editing in a video. Basically, we do it, record it, we're done, we produce it, push it out on the internet.
Okay. So part of your topic might address institutional or instructional effectiveness of video media. Okay, so you could frame your question as, well, point A, we find that video is an effective tool in teaching. Source 1, 2, 3, 4. And there's no shortage of people who have done research on why video is effective for teaching. The second one might have video and education editing, and maybe video editing is a topic.
It's a topic. It just goes over the steps of how to edit videos and stuff like that.
Yep. So here's for a bit of an older argument, but this, just looking at the, this talks about teaching philosophy and use of video. And this article from 1989, so old, but again, it looks like it, and I'm only looking at the, the quick little Google Scholar abstract, suggests to me that the author has flexible video, the student's expected to work within the structures. That, to me, hints at something that might be of interest to me. So I might look at that article, and then I might look at the 286 people who have cited that. So there's 200, and so here's an example of some of the characteristics of designing a system, and so using this Google Scholar, once you find an article that looks like it's relevant, then you can look at those who have cited it. Google Scholar is one of its features is cited by. And so and somebody who cites an article that you think is relevant is likely to be relevant to your topic as well, right? That's a way to narrow your search. Once you find one, I think of it as pulling on a thread. Once you're in, you just have to pull on that thread and other things will follow. Okay?
So is it safe to say I can go through like old articles on how they used to do stuff and cite that?
Sure.
Or I'm doing it now?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, absolutely. This thread doesn't look like it's too useful. So I close that off and I go down to the next one. New perspectives on the role of video in teacher education, streaming video to enhance reflection and dance education. That might be kind of interesting. So, be open to things that are just like really weird, and the other thing I think that you have to get used to is this little next button on the bottom of Google Scholar. When you go down 2 or 3, and I think am I pulling 25? Only pulling 25. When you go down to the 100, 150, especially in Google Scholar, you're going to find some really interesting stuff that's a little further out there than you might have thought, but that's really what you're looking for. It's very hard to narrow your search when you start, so you just got to be open to looking at 100 or 200 of these, not of articles,
Yep.
and then kind of flipping through them, finding one that looks of interest, and then looking at the people who cite it. And if there's 2 or 3 that's also look of interest that cited it, then you know that this one is useful.
Okay.
You know? So it's just a way. It's a rule of thumb. If you're looking for give or take 10 to 15 to 20 sources, each one of those might take you somewhere between 2/3 and a full hour to develop. So somewhere between 40 minutes and 60 minutes to develop the source. You haven't read it yet. You've just developed it. So, you know, this is definitely a time sink, finding the literature. And there's never anything directly on point. That's just a rule of life.
Yeah, I think that's what my problem was. I was looking for the exact keywords.
Yeah, never. No. That's the whole point of this integration is you've got to, people have done stuff that's orthogonal or tangential to your topic, and you have to bring them in and make them relevant to your topic.
Okay.
Because that's how we advance knowledge. Think of yourself as you're doing something unique, so nobody's written on your precise topic. If they have, then we don't need you. So, you know, so you're doing something unique and distinctive in scholarship, so you have to pull all these different threads that exist and knit them together to make a new sweater.
So basically, I can take a literature review of how they used to do the old editing and just
Sure. They might have that stream of literature might make 1/3 of your lit review, and maybe they identified 5 things that really sucked in the old world that you're going to address in your world.
All right, so I can go to old technology and how we improved it to the new technology then.
Sure.
Okay,
Yeah.
just want to make sure.
Yep, absolutely. Yeah. Okay, that's a good question. So, yeah, because it's everybody always looks for something exactly on point, and there's never anything on point. It's always what's interesting is stuff that you decide is relevant to your point, even if it's about something else, because you've then drawn insights from that literature. And it's, you know, we don't make you do this because you know that's just how it's done. It really does broaden your understanding of your topic.
Okay.
And it demonstrates that you can put your topic in context of the other of the scholars and the professionals on whose shoulders you stand. So I hope that helps. Other questions on the lit review or the presentation that we can talk about?
I got an off-topic thing.
Yeah.
Is a crap, I forgot. I had it on the tip of my tongue.
It'll come back.
Probably after it's over.
Yeah. It'll come back when you're ready. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So, more specific to anybody have topics that are of specific interest? So, James, why don't you flip off your record and then flip it back on so you can have a